motherfuckers that ain't supposed to be in that motherfucker, because they are. If you are not down for taking some of these fucked up, heinous, violent motherfuckers, if you are not down for, burying the motherfuckers up to their neck in dirt and sand and letting everybody throw stones at them that they fucking violated. Unless you want to get medieval on these motherfuckers, you gotta have some sort of establishment for control and correction of some of these motherfuckers. Now let's just keep that real. Not everybody belongs there, but certainly there are some absolute motherfuckers that do. They safer there, and so are we. So now this is the part where I mean by slavery, right? And I don't want you to just get back on the fucking boat and think that, the whole Kunta Kinte, get off the fucking boat, don't get on the boat. Just stay right here with me, right? Don't get on the boat and go over there again. Stay here. Stay home. When a party is bound to elect between a paramount right and a testimony disposition, his acquiescence in a state of things which indicates an election. So if you don't say anything and you are being told that you are real property, you have been engaged in some sort of contract, whether it be orally, whether it just be simply that you acquiesced and you never said no and you never disagreed to it. Okay, so again, I'll use the example of me asking somebody if I can throw a party at their house. And they say, sure, you could throw a party at my house, Now, I give them a proposition, and maybe I'll pay $250 to have a party at your house. And you let me have this party, and then I show up Friday. It's a smash. Everything turns out well. And then the next Friday, I show up, and I say, hey, we're here. And they're like, oh, Phoenix is throwing a party. We've been invited. You're like, wait a minute. I never said that it was okay for you to throw another party, but you never said that we couldn't. So, maybe I am a little dirty for not explaining it to you. But maybe you're a little naive for not giving explicit details. Okay? It has to be a bilateral contract in order for it to be understood. So, if you again, now I'm telling you that I want to throw a party in your house, and you're telling me I let you throw a party at my house last week, and I'm like, so what? I said I want to throw a party at your house. I didn't say how many. I didn't say for how long. I never told you how long they would last. I never told you what I need you to do at my party. I never told you that you didn't have to provide Kool-Aid. So now that I'm charging your ass for Kool-Aid, you better get me some fucking Kool-Aid. Fucked up. But that's a contract. And because you backed out of it, and by either engaging in oral conversation, which is binding, or perhaps a handshake that's also binding, you have now locked yourself in. And if your ass can't pay, and your wife can't pay, you and your kids gonna pay. And that is how the system of slavery went. Now, if you don't know somebody's language, you should not do business with them. If they're not talking the shit you know about, it's not worth doing business with them. You know, speaking my language, we don't do no business. Right? And we were unable to do business properly because we were disadvantaged by not knowing how to conduct the business. See, the business of the Indian was really to just be fucking chill and relax and let these other people get our bread and shit. Right? Because that's what they're for. It's a company. We hired them. They're subcontractors. Right? And they are there in place as trustees. Okay? They hold our trust, okay? And we are supposed to be the fucking beneficiaries. They are supposed to service us, and what's ended up happening is we have just ended up being served. So again, the acts of acquiescence which constitute an implied election. So they have no choice. If you don't make it fucking clear what it is, they have no choice but to think that you consented to whatever it is that they wanted you to do, and that you entered into this knowingly, right? It's only implied, and they have the right to do that. So that's not something that you could truly be upset about. So now that constitutes as an implied election must be decided rather by the circumstances of each case than by any general principle. 4. Acquiescence in the acts of an agent, all right, or one who has assumed that character. That is where I'm going to pause at. And give me 1 second. I'm going to pause that right there, and then I'm going to let that marinate because I'm going to have to read that shit again. That's very important. So what happened was these so-called masters ended up being the executors over your real estate, your body, right? It's the same thing like personal estate, just like your house goes into an estate, right? There's some sort of trust involved, right? So now, again, I'm going to read that again. So this is how they acquired the right, okay, by law. So when they tell you, oh, it was laws that made slavery legal, hold up. But do you know what makes you a slave? They never taught you what makes you a slave. Not because you are a particular color. They did it to their own people. I'm not saying it was a great system, but I'm telling you we didn't understand the system, so this is why it seems so retarded. But at the same time, because we were so ignorant and naive that we kind of bought this shit on ourselves, right? But they haven't changed anything much, okay, with the exception of some other things that help us as Aborigines, and you know, but at the same time, none of these things have changed to where, excuse me, y'all. None of these things have changed to where it's not the same shit that they was doing years ago. You understand? So, again, now it says acquiescence in the acts of an agent or one who has assumed that character will be equivalent to an express authority. Acquiescence differs from assent. So now I'm going to go to the word assent. Hey, Marty. So the word assent is the opposite of acquiescence. So you know that means you are probably more than likely rebutting the presumption. And this is what the opposite was. So this is how people were able to obtain their fucking freedom, because they took control of their straw. They took control of their shit. Assent is also a part of contracts. And assent is an agreement to something that has been done before. It is either expressed, where it is openly declared, right? I make the decision. Acquiescence differs from assent. So now I'm going to go to the word assent. Hey, Marty. So the word assent is the opposite of acquiescence. So you know that means you are probably more than likely rebutting the presumption. And this is what the opposite was. So this is how people were able to obtain their fucking freedom, because they took control of their straw. They took control of their shit. Assent is also a part of contracts. And assent is an agreement to something that has been done before. It is either expressed, where it is openly declared, right? I make the decision. When it's expressed, I, the natural person, the natural woman, not person, the natural woman is expressing that no, this shit ain't gonna fucking go down. Implied is when I pass the buck and I give it to a lawyer because I'm too lazy to speak for my own self. So he has to speak for my corporate entity now, right? A dead corporation. He's talking to a fucking ghost, okay? So being that he's speaking on behalf of a fucking punk, somebody that can't speak for themselves, he gonna walk his ass on over there to the prosecutor. And then that gives the prosecutor the right to pretend to be the sound alter ego of your moral compass and good judgment, so that you can be presented against the state, who's a fucking imaginary, right? Who the fuck is the state? And then you end up getting slam dunked upside your head. And meanwhile, the only thing the judge got to do at that point is just sit there and, maybe try and get you to plea and stuff like that and all that other shit. And that shit ain't even fucking necessary. So now, an agreement to something that has been done before, it is either expressed where it is openly declared that when I say, you're going to come to my farm, you're going to work for me for 10 days, and I'm going to pay you $500. After that 10 days, if you'd like to come back and work for me, you can bring 2 members of your family with you, and I will pay you $5 for each 10 days of work that you perform. That is a contract where you either agree to it or not. And that's something that gives you more detail as to what it is that you're doing. Right? And because we weren't fortunate to have access to this information, we suffered for it. Okay? So even when you find your ancestors and you see they are in certain situations where they are enslaved, or what you may think to be enslaved, don't think that they would just get their ass whipped. They was on the fucking money down there. So you best believe they was taking good regard to who was making all their fucking money. Okay? And they had to come up and create all of these ways to get us off the land. So when they stupefied us with these fucking laws, we didn't stand a goddamn chance. Now, in your downtime, before I finish that, in your downtime, there is, I don't remember, I want to say it's the New York Daily News or the New York Post. It may not even be one of them. Don't take me seriously. But I want you to look up how many years that, the caption, look up how many years has the America or the United States been at war since the Declaration of Independence. What you're going to find, you're probably going to find several sources, and they're pretty much going to say all the same thing. But what I want you to pay attention to, after you look at maybe 3 to 4 articles, maybe just articles or thesis or dissertations or something like that, preferably from a EDU, an educational higher learning facility, or the actual congressional record or something like that. You want to stick to these kind of primary sources and stuff. But I want you to look up how many years since the Declaration of Independence the United States has been at war. What you're going to find in common with all of the articles, without a doubt, all of these wars that were on domestic soil from the fucking 1600s up until, I want to say, World War I, was all with Indians. So how can they maintain making motherfuckers walk this goddamn Trail of Tears, right? Then at the same time they maintaining this chattel slavery system going on. Then they sending people on a gold rush to go west. I just want to talk about some of these timelines. They had to really make everything appear like one great big fucking ball of a slave of a story, when really there are a significant amount of intricacies and a significant amount of evidence that proves that this is a sack of bullshit. So once you are able to establish a firm timeline, it then gives you the opportunity, or the sound reasoning rather, to be able to deduce information in order to get the absolute fact, right? Because there's some things that have to be completely eliminated because you know that not to be a fact. So if they're saying that everybody was slaves, and even if you find one grandparent that was free from, that you know of, at least from 1790 to 1865, right? So if you know them to be free, does that mean everybody was slaves? No, the fuck it doesn't. right? You see that your great grandparents was married. They had marriage certificates. They married other people of their own brand, right? In some instances, because in all instances, get the fuck out of here. I'm not even gonna go through that because you couldn't even marry. And when you look at mulatto, you need to get it out your mind. That's a Negro and an Indian, right? Because when another Indian from Jamaica or the Caribbean or Haiti comes to stateside or to any of the other Americas, they are entered in as Negro, right? But when an American Indian goes to Jamaica, they were entered in as Negro, and the Jamaicans end up being the Indians. Don't let them fucking fool you, right? So mulatto had nothing to do with no fucking black and white. Now, the only instance that could possibly have been would been someone that was a slave, right? Because their status was black. Doesn't mean that their skin was. You got Irish people, Irish people, they have, at one point, you could tell they must have definitely looked like us. Now, that's not something that, it ain't something I could prove, but it ain't something that I could deny, especially considering you have a significant amount of evidence that there was some brown folks over there before everybody. And what we're not going to do is act like that shit never happened. Now, who they are, that's all subject under fucking scrutiny, though. Now, we can get to that, but we can't. Oh, wow. Do they do that, too? Do they interrupt YouTube now also? Ooh, y'all. They just cut my shit off. It's a brand new device, so I know nothing's wrong with that. Here they go. That shit again. Talking that shit. So it would seem incongruous and absurd that when a conveyance is completely executed on the part of the grantor, the estate should continue in him. So this is how the master was able to transfer certain family members because the debt was not cleared off. Now, whether or not the debt was even accurate or not, and then in some cases, don't forget, motherfuckers got kidnapped and they got thrown into the shit, and being that they had no way to rebut any presumption or prove their way out, they ended up, some of them being 12 years a slave, right? And they had people that look like you, and I'm going to say that these were people under commission to scout you and to make sure that you return. So when you think of this Underground Railroad, you got to give some fucking regard to the goddamn details of that stupid shit. You got somebody that you just stole from some obscure African fucking nation. Harriet Tubman, she always been on this fucking plantation. And how the fuck she know how to run away on foot, right? You can run away on foot and get from Dorchester, Maryland, all the way to fucking Auburn, New York, on goddamn foot in 1849. And then come back and rescue your brothers on Christmas Eve, pull that off. And then you bought a house and came back and got your motherfucking parents, your old-ass parents at this point, and they've been slaves, so in your mind, you should assume that these people have been broke the fuck down, because old age to them could have been at 40, considering the way some of these people minds think that our people had it so hard, which is to the fucking contrary. Peace and love. Which is absolutely to the fucking contrary. Our people used to live to 100, 105. They lived so motherfucking long, they forgot how motherfucking old they was. They ain't had no goddamn birthday. They didn't been up talking about, I've been up 50,000 moons, and they mean that shit, right? And you don't know what the fuck. So, anyway, these legal maxims, they are just a way of you understanding basic principles in law, and they're going to remind you of cliches that your big mama, or you may have heard over the course of your lifetime. Maybe not these specific Latin maxims, but they are there in place, again, to provide you a basis of how to understand the philosophy of jurisprudence. So the next legal maximum I'm going to give you is volenti non fit injuria. VOLENTI next word is NONFIT, 2 words, right? Injuria, INJURIA. That means no injury is done to someone who has consented. It is a voluntary assumption of risk. So, just because, I had an argument with my significant other, does it mean that I'm not going to come home? Does it mean that I'm going to let the whole house full of shit because, I got some shit on my mind? So basically, and I still think that, when I come in the house, there's going to be some sort of flowers there, and I done created all this type of contention and stuff like that. Well, maybe he's going to be a little dismissive because I came in the house all nasty after we was arguing and shit. So it was wrong for me to speculate and wrong for him to think that I wasn't going to perform my obligation. So basically, I can't complain, especially if I caused the injury to myself by coming in from a situation that could have been handled differently. And I just, walked right into an injury on purpose. I walked into my own brick wall. I didn't have to come in like that, So, let me see if I could get a couple more. Oh, this is a good one. So, Nemo debit esse judex in propria causa. Nemo, like the fish. Debet, DEBETESSE in propria causa. No man can be a judge in his own cause. So if you eat a whole tray of fucking cookies, right? And then you see that your stomach's starting to get a little pudgy, a little chubby, and then you're getting a little double chin. And, you decide that it's okay. And you violated that. And the reason why you decide that it's okay is like you just ate a whole pan of fucking cookies and you talk about how fat they make you. Right? You can't complain about the fat because you just ate a whole fucking tray of cookies. So it's like, you see how you kind of that's like trying to justify some silly shit in your mind when you can't be the judge of your own affair in that instance. You got a problem with cookies, motherfucker. Do you have a problem with cookies or do you have a problem with the love handles? You have to choose what it is exactly that you mean by that. West ipsa locutor. Halito. And this one, RESIPSALOQITUR. And that means the thing speaks for itself. So that's like something that's understood doesn't have to be said, right? It seems that way, but you don't want to lean towards where it means that you are acquiescent. So when you use that, that's after it speaks for itself. Like, let's say you go to have a gallbladder surgery and they take out your motherfucking spleen, right? Dry bones, hey beloved. So you go to have a gallbladder surgery and these dumb motherfuckers take your spleen out and shit. Well, that would be West Ispalocutor. That means it doesn't have to be told. You don't have to tell a judge and jury, hey, these motherfuckers, they went in for a surgery and they ended up taking out my spleen. Right? You don't want to do that. You don't have to say anything. So that's something that doesn't have to be said at all. Give me one moment, y'all. Give me one moment. Let me see. Let's see. Hold on one second. So again, that's like again, I don't know if it was. Hi, Lance. Oh, you can hear me now too. Okay, good. So that's something that speaks for itself. You know, you don't have to go in there telling no judge, hey, look, you know, this happened and they fucked up. It's something that's so obvious. It's a win-win thing. So now I want to go back to some of these words, because these words are going to assist you in learning how to negotiate and not sign yourself up to be nobody's motherfucking slave, right? And now I'm going to I gave you acquiesce. I want you to know what debt is, right? The real meaning of debt, not these motherfuckers calling you up, you know, on Sunday, talking about you owe them some 200 something fucking dollars for some shit, and you don't know who the fuck these people are. You know, you gotta stop answering to shit like that. If you got something with AT&T, who the fuck is Petroleum Industries to send you something regarding AT&T? Was they in the middle of y'all fucking handshake? Who's AT&T? God damn it! For a matter of fact, they think they fucking got you. No. The fault is on them, because your services are fucking prepaid already. They couldn't do shit without your signature. They're not gonna be in business. And guess what? What if everybody just stopped paying their fucking light bill? What's gonna happen? Well, you motherfuckers be without lights, but that shit is gonna close, right? But they're not gonna be in any fucking debt, because there is no debt. There is no debt. Now this is very fucking lengthy, all right? But you know, I love you guys, and I'll do this shit ad nauseum just so you know it's a little clear. If y'all hanging in there with me, I'll keep fucking going. Hi, thank you. I love you all. Y'all okay? That's a whole fact, Unity. You know, that's a whole fucking fact. See, when everybody gains control of their straw, see, it's funny that you say that. So when I look at, you know, the legal maxims, I look at them from what I learned from the Bible. I don't think about, you know, the sky opening up and all this other crazy shit happening. But what I do know is at the part in the end where everybody's saying Babylon fell and all the people were screaming, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. In my mind, that means everybody has controlled their straw and they became we the people again, right? Because it doesn't matter what country they are. When you read their constitution, they say they refer to the de facto and they refer to the de jure. So the constitution absolutely is always going to mean the de jure unless explicitly expressed otherwise. And then some people are very fucking expressed. Like I had to show these fucking Pan-Africans, let me tell y'all about this funny shit. I had to show these damn Pan-Africans about the Ghana Constitution. And in the Ghana Constitution, this is how you know they full of shit and they ain't going no goddamn where. The Ghana Constitution specifically says that if your ass gives up your Ghana citizenship, you get in the fucking boot. So basically you're exiled. You can't get it back. Okay? So for all these expatriates that come over here and you want to be something else, don't you dare come over here talking about, oh, I'm African and I go back to Ghana, because you gave up your citizenship. And Ghana Constitution says you get the fuck out of here. Now they do offer dual citizenship to people, but your ass gonna go over there and be an immigrant because you're not from there. And you're gonna be an immigrant with an I, right? You're going to be both kind of immigrants, because you're coming from somewhere else. You're going to be an immigrant with an E too, because you're leaving your fucking country to go be somewhere else, right? And that's the same to be said from somebody that moves from Texas to New Jersey. They're leaving their country to go be somewhere else, right? That's exactly what it is. It don't seem that way because it's the United States. But you got to understand, each state is a country, right? So, you say what country you from. Sometimes on these applications, they don't leave you any choice in the matter, and you only see an option for the United States, right? So, with that being said, if you only see an option for the United States, then that means they're choosing your nation for you, and that puts you right in the pool where they can tell you what to do, right? So when it comes time for them to tell you what to do, you have to rebut that under the premise that they left you no choice, which is basically like a tyrannical position. It's no way out. That you're not able to be we the people. You the motherfucker subject, right? And that shit ain't cool. We don't want to be that. You definitely don't want to be that, right? So, again, you want to pay attention to that. Now, this word debt, I might just save that for the part 2 because that shit is real fucking lengthy. And again, although very pertinent, it's something that could wait a second, because I think the most important thing is going to be the word contract, because this is the whole gist of the matter. And a contract is a legally binding agreement involving 2 or more parties that sets forth an exchange of promises of what each party will or will not do. Let me stop right there. Because it's involving 2 or more parties that sets forth an exchange of promises of what each party will or will not do. So, unfortunately, some of our ancestors were unable to negotiate contracts, and they ended up suffering. So now, back to me throwing that party. If I tell you I'm going to give you $250 because I want to throw a party at your house, and you agree to it, we two have made an agreement that there's going to be parties thrown at your house, right? But I never tell you how many parties. I never tell you when the party's going to stop. I never tell you who's going to clean up. I never tell you who's going to pay for any damages incurred as a result of me having this party. I never make any of these things clear. So a proper contract contains the consent of a mutual agreement between 2 parties. So when your ass go running down the fucking DMV and say, hey, sign up, register, take my car, you can't get mad that they send their fucking cousins, the policy enforcers, out to come get you and pull you over on the side of the motherfucking road, right? Because you didn't know what was in that contract, and you didn't reserve your rights. If you reserve your rights, and they, they can't make you break the law, right? But it's breaking the law by them not telling you exactly what's going on. And you agree to some shit, and it causes you injury, right? Because if anybody shits on your hood or fucking does something to you, you are entitled to a redress of grievance, right? Now, that can be, it doesn't necessarily have to be physical. Oh, no, it has to be physical. Let me not say that. And what I mean by that is there has to be an injured party. Right? There has to be an injured party. Somebody has to say, that there's a crime committed. It has to be someone to face your accuser. There is no such thing as the whole state of New York mad at you because you ran a red light. Jersey, the whole state of Wisconsin is not fucking upset with you because you ran a red light. So that's something that you believe in your mind, and you make it true. You make it true for the simple fact that you have not said anything in regards to the contrary. So therefore, you are making it true by your acquiescence, right? So now if someone actually gets on the stand and, let's say I punch Al Sharpton in the face. If Al Sharpton gets on the stand and says that I hit him, then there is some liability that I'm responsible for. So yeah, I have to fight my way out of that, right? Because there's an actual person that can say, me, she hurt me, I am, right? But now when you have some inanimate shit that is like, oh, she ran a red light. Now, as I go through whatever red light these motherfuckers are talking about, nobody was injured. I didn't run a red light and my vehicle slammed into another vehicle and I injured somebody and now, they fucked up in the game, right? That never happened. So how are you going to persecute me over some shit that never happened? Well, the only way that can occur is if I agree to it. Because for one, I think I broke the law. I don't really know for sure. And they didn't really have no proof that I did. But because I went in there half-cocked thinking that I'm going to answer to this because I don't want any trouble, now I put myself in a position to where they won and I have contributed to my own demise instead of my own defense. Right? Instead of my own defense. Now I just injured myself. I helped them to having my ass in motherfucking handcuffs. Right? One time I was in a courtroom and no, this is my shit. I don't suggest you try this unless you know exactly. Well, y'all, I don't know if that cut off or not. It cut off on my end. I don't know if that cut off, but they starting this shit. But first of all, if your name's not defended, I don't know why you would sit in a seat that makes that so, because that makes it real, right? But what you should do is always put the shit on paper. You don't go in there saying a motherfucking thing because you don't know how to talk to them, right? So anything you say can and will be used against you. With that being said, you make all of your presentments on a piece of paper and you line up all of the facts. And the facts mean what? The facts unrebutted stands as law. So basically, if I tell them they held me unlawfully on the side of the road while violating my constitutional rights with this fucking bullshit driver's license shit, and then I'll present what the Supreme Court says regarding driver's license so they know that I know what I'm talking about. My first opening line is going to be addressed. I'm going to make sure everybody's name that's going to be all the players in that motherfucker, that name going to be on there. It's going to be kind of like a RSVP because they will issue you a warrant, which is basically an invitation that's kind of hard to fucking refuse, right? But how to make sure that that is not valid, there's a certain way you are supposed to move, right? To where they end up being quashed. And this does not apply to you violent motherfuckers. Now, I'm going to just tell y'all there's so much of this shit that I'm kicking. But if you have a problem keeping your hands to yourself, and you're just pummeling people and there's really no self-defense or logical reason, they're going to fuck you up. If it's violent, they're going to fuck you up. If you damage property, you making them think that this shit is okay to do. And you gotta stop that. Hey, Saul. Peace, beloved. So, you gotta stop letting these motherfuckers think that they gotta be endorsing you. Or they ask you a question. Can I see your ID? And they say can, that's requires you to have a question mark at the end. Your fucking children will say, Mommy, can I have some cookies? And you say, no, sit your ass down. You ain't getting no cookies now. You just had some, right? Can I? Can you step out of the car? Can you? Refusing is not resisting arrest if there's nothing for them to arrest you for. Driving without a license is not an arrestable offense. If you are told to get in fucking handcuffs, it's because you signed yourself up. You signed yourself up because you decided to pull out one of their fucking instruments, right? You pulled out one of their fucking instruments